Welcome to Barrack Recreation Center and on this fine day in Columbus, Ohio. I'm Mark Stansbury, I'm the center manager here. I've been an employee of Recreation and Parks for over 40 years and a resident of the city of Columbus for 57 years. As a longtime resident of Columbus and the center manager of Barrack Recreation Center, I see the challenges the community faces every day. As the center manager, my team and I work tirelessly to build partnerships. Some of those folks are in this room right now. And I and others have provided resources to meet some of the neighbors' most basic needs: nutritious food, physical and emotional wellness, creative expression, and nature programming. Community violence is a symptom of neighborhoods where values and material needs clash. The Recreation and Park Department promotes connecting people with nature, creativity, and the wellness programs. Each center is very important for each neighborhood. Recreation and Parks creates a safe space for residents of all ages and backgrounds to connect. Columbus is where we live, work, and raise our families. The next level of safety strategy will need to create safe corridors where people can come safely to these safe spaces. And hopefully we can work in partnership to create those. I'm incredibly honored to be part of today's meetings, and with the support of the community, we'll be able to move forward the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy, where residents across this county and city will be able to be served. With that being said, it is my honor to welcome Mayor Andrew Gunther.
Thank you, Mark, and for the entire team here at Barrack and all of our friends and neighbors here on the south side. I know we've got some great leaders from all over the city here: Ms. Pegg, Jim Griffin, Jean Tyree, I see Linda Henry, so many other great community leaders from across our city that are here with us today, and grateful for their continued partnership and service. I want to thank Dr. Mashika Roberts, Lieutenant Mark Helder, who we'll hear from in a minute, our Director of Neighborhoods, Carla Williams-Scott, Safety Director Ned Pettis, and all the other departments involved in implementing the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. And I am thrilled also, you'll hear from Donna Bates in a few minutes as well, to have her here from the Reeb, Hosack, Steelton Village, and Parsons Avenue Merchant Association to share some thoughts. Let me start by saying that I am not announcing the next chief of police. We've gone through a thoughtful, thorough process, including a forum just last week that gave the community an opportunity to hear from both candidates, and I hope to make a decision by the end of the year. I also expect to see the final recommendations from the Columbus Community Safety Advisory Commission by the end of the year. They've spent the last 18 months reviewing Columbus Division of Police policies, training, and procedures. Their recommendations, coupled with the independent third-party review by Matrix, will be the roadmap for the police chief and the division in the coming years. While selecting the police chief will be one of the most important decisions I make as mayor, I wanted to take a few moments to acknowledge the great continuing work of the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. We've done these updates periodically and wanted to come forward and share some information from our work in recent months. As you know, we launched the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy in November of 2017 based on feedback from the community, insights from law enforcement, and data-driven, proven practices from other cities to reduce homicides and other violent crime. This multi-pronged strategy engages law enforcement and all of our other city departments, as well as businesses, community, and faith leaders and residents. The good news is that homicides and violent crime continue to trend down 7.2% since 2016. Homicides are significantly down from our peak of 151 in 2017. while there's a tendency to keep a tally, we cannot forget that these are not numbers. They are people. A mom, a dad, brother, sister, a neighbor, a coworker. Even one life lost to homicide is too many. And we will continue to battle against factors that lead to violent crime in our neighborhoods throughout the city. We know that investing in our police is important, but that we cannot police our way out of violent crime. It takes a comprehensive, community-wide effort working across departments and with the community. But today, I'm announcing that we are adding 10 additional police officers to our recruit class that begins next month, bringing the total number of police recruits for 2019 to 90. And as I announced earlier this month with the operating fund budget, we will add another 90 police officers in 2 classes in 2020. We're also equipping our police officers with technology to help fight crime. Last year, we installed a gunfire detection system called ShotSpotter in the Hilltop, Linden, and South Side. While we're still analyzing the data, the statistics look promising, and we hope to have a full year annual report in March and the spring of next year. In the Hilltop, there were 792 alerts, 175 related calls for service, 29 arrests, and 29 guns. 29 guns recovered just in the Hilltop. In Linden, 979 alerts, 154 related calls for service, 38 arrests, and 41 guns recovered. On the South Side, 546 alerts, 114 related calls for service, 14 arrests, and 6 guns recovered. We know that the overwhelming majority of homicides in our city are committed with firearms. ShotSpotter is another tool to help reduce gun violence and get illegal guns out of our neighborhoods. It also helps to improve police-community relations. I remind folks that nationally, 80% of gunfire goes unreported, and it does 2 things to damage police-community relations when that happens. The police don't know about it and can't respond to help protect the community. And the neighbors that live in that area think the police don't care because they didn't respond. And so ShotSpotter helps not only with reducing violence and helping to make our neighborhoods safer, but it also helps to improve police-community relations. One of the most successful and popular programs in our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy is the Safe Streets Bike Patrol. Why do I know this? Because every time on the South Side, Linden, or the Hilltop, I have neighbors and leaders talk about safe streets, wanting more of them and wanting this part of our strategy to continue on. Nobody knows more about the work of Safe Streets than our great partner with this. It's my honor now to introduce, to hear an update on Safe Streets, Lieutenant Mark Helder.
I am not a public speaker, so I will keep this brief, as brief as I can. Like he said, I'm Lieutenant Mark Helder. I was honored to be a part of Safe Streets this year. This was my first year with the program. It is actually the first year that a lieutenant's been in charge of the program. Typically, it operated as 3 separate units in 3 of the most challenging areas of the city. It started back, just to give you a brief history of it, it started back in 2017 as a pilot program by then Commander Jennifer Knight. She had the idea to address violent crime in Linden and to use bike officers to do that. Well, why bike officers, everyone says? Well, it's because bike officers are more approachable. And I didn't know that because I never rode a bike as a police officer. In my 23 years of law enforcement, I never had any interest in it. But I went to bike school and I learned how to ride a bike. And they took great pleasure in pushing a lieutenant off of the bicycle to train us how to fall. So in 2017, the program was met with such great success, both in the Hilltop and the Linden area, that it expanded to the southeast area. You can all see the numbers of the crime reduction. That's not solely Safe Streets, that's in general, but Safe Streets plays a big part in that. Last year, Commander Knight asked me to oversee the program because she wanted to see more consistency in the program, and we set out 3 goals that we wanted to accomplish this year. The first goal was comprehensive training. We started off with a training regimen that we never had in the past. We brought all the teams together and got them all on the same pages as far as training with the bicycles to bring them up to speed with how to ride. A lot of them had been rusty over the summer. Some of them had never ridden a bike before. To get them equipped and trained up to speed and introduced to all the different city entities that we had available to us. And that was the number one kind of key to the Safe Streets program, was using the city entities all over the city that are available to us, combine them and use us as sort of the one-stop shop center to get the community problems addressed. We introduced all those teams to those resources. We got them some training in human trafficking, which has become an issue in Columbus, and we brought them up to speed and got them ready to hit the ground running. The other element that I insisted upon introducing was wellness training. This is a tough assignment for many of these officers. They change their days off, they change their hours, they spend time away from family, and I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of mentally and physically. So in keeping with that, we had we had a competition going with a trophy presentation. We had ice cream socials, all the stuff that you would think, well, why would police officers enjoy that? Well, it's all about employee recognition and keeping them up and keeping them happy and healthy. They were recognized by the Columbus Clippers during one of the Clippers games. Commander Knight got to throw out the first pitch. I'm a firm believer that those kind of recognitions are important for the officers. In addition, we wanted to create a template. We wanted to create a template that was expandable or contractible, and then we could replicate over time. So we normalized all the stat reportings, we normalized all the community contact information, and we kind of consolidated all of our contact information so that they all had access to that, and they could not only engage with the other city departments on a regular basis, but do so efficiently. And that was one of the most important goals that we had, was not just create a structure where they had access to these things, but they could utilize them efficiently. One of the models that they used, or that they developed over time, had to do with vacant structures, and we all know vacant structures are a problem throughout all 3 of these communities. Time and time again, the sergeants and officers were coming to me with community concerns about, what do we do about these vacant structures? What is a long-term solution to them? The typical problem with the vacant structures is that there's a lot of criminal activity that occurs inside and around vacant structures. Not only that, but they're an eyesore for the community. So we put together a model using vacant structures and drug houses as sort of our template. And one example of the community, the organization that we had and the efficiency was that we would get a community complaint, or we would use a community contact, and they would identify a problem location. Either the officers on regular patrol riding their bicycles throughout the neighborhoods would identify a vacant structure or drug location, or we'd get that from one of our community contacts. They would get in contact with their contacts inside the Narcotics Bureau, conduct an investigation, and within a short period of time they were able to get search warrants on those houses, enter those houses, and have them not only the drugs and all that stuff taken out of those houses, but have code enforcement and their contacts in code enforcement go in, inspect the houses, and shut them down immediately. In the past, sort of the problem was, well, once we shut them down, what do we do with them? Well, these officers kept a running tab. These teams kept a running tab of those vacant structures, and they went back periodically, and made sure that they had they were still placarded, that they still had the boarding on them, and they were enforcing any violations that they saw with them. In addition, their contacts inside the city attorney's office and the zone attorneys, they worked very closely with them to get those properties abated and hold those property owners accountable for taking care and maintaining those structures. And when they couldn't or refused to maintain those structures, they began the abatement process. So it was an example of a beginning to end process in which the officers were involved at every aspect. And to that, last year in 2018, they were able to placard 48 structures in 2018. Last year we did 93, which is almost double the number of structures. In keeping with some of the other enforcement, there's a There's booklets in the back if you want to take a look. It has the complete list of stats from all the 3 teams and all the great work they did. They did a fantastic job this year of balancing what we expect them in the Safe Streets program to do, and that's balancing the enforcement aspect with the community engagement and the deterrence aspect. And they did a great job of mending those 2 things together, and I can't say enough about the teams. In addition to the 157 illegal firearms that 3 teams seized, which is a 44.5% increase over last year, they were able to make over 300 felony arrests and seize 953 grams of heroin. Now, let me put that in perspective. In 2018, they were able to seize 215 grams. That's over 4 times the amount of seizures of heroin off the city streets. And while they're doing all this, while they're creating all these great stats, and I encourage you all to look at those stats back there that I kept running through the whole thing, while they're doing that, they're dividing their time among community events. Last year, this summer, they were able to attend 378 different community events throughout the city and logged over 750 hours of face-to-face time with community members. That's one-on-1, 1-on-10, 1-on-20, similar settings like this. But that's the important part of this program, and the key to this program is developing that relationship with the community and fostering that relationship. They logged 8,800 bike hours. And when we log bike hours, that means bottoms on the seats, going through the neighborhoods, riding the bikes. 8,800 hours on the city streets, in and out of neighborhoods, making contacts. And it is estimated, to the best of our estimation, they had over 35,000 positive interactions with citizens over the course of the summer. So I can't say enough about the program. I was tentative in taking the assignment because I didn't know what to expect, and I can tell you that I'm sold. So again, I'd like to thank the mayor for all his support. He's given us everything we need to operate. Chief Quinlan, thank you for all your support. Chief Woods kind of took over the head leadership of the project halfway through. He hit the ground running. We got him up to speed quick, and he's been a staunch supporter. And Commander Rob Sagal, Commander Dave Hughes, and Acting Commander Blake Griffith, who have been nothing but fantastic in making sure we have everything we need. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and to everyone that's been involved with making the Safe Streets program such a success. I mean, when you think about it, a 28% reduction in violent crime in Linden, 18% on the Hilltop, and 16% on the South Side while Safe Streets is in session. I think, really proves and demonstrates the effectiveness, not to mention all of the proactive, positive community interactions that are taking place with our Safe Streets program. So for the officers that made it happen, we're grateful for their service and their leadership. Another part of our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy is Clean Neighborhoods. Our Clean Neighborhoods program battles illegal dumping as a physical deterrent to crime. In 2019, our Department of Refuse collected 5,365 tons of bulk trash and 5,311 tires. In addition, 56 people were charged or fined for illegal dumping. This is the message. Our neighborhoods are not dumping grounds. And whether you live there or work there or are passing through to do illegal dumping, we're coming after you, and we will not stand for it. Through phase 1 of the Linden Luminary Replacement Project, 578 homes will experience clearer and brighter streets and sidewalks from this investment. And we're also beginning a process on phase 2 to bring another 800 to 900 homes in Linden on board with this program. Another part of our comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy is the great work of our Department of Recreation and Parks. Centers Without Walls is a program that we started at Eakin Elementary School to serve residents in the Wedgwood community in 2019. Over the last year, Recreation and Parks served more than 315 children on-site, after-school programs, connecting kids to wellness activities and the outdoors by hosting traditional community center activities like arts and crafts, street hockey, baseball, and soccer. We're excited to expand access to the department's services by launching the second Community Center Without Walls model to Columbus's southeast side at Liberty Elementary School in the coming year. Safety is not just a police problem or a neighborhood problem. It's really a health crisis. And that's why I'm excited to have our Health Commissioner, Dr. Mashika Roberts, come forward next to talk a little bit of the work that our public health department's engaged with. Dr. Roberts?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Lieutenant Helder, for your leadership and commitment to making families, neighborhoods, and our entire community safer through the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. And thanks for all of our partners who have joined us in this effort as part of the Violent Crime Review Group. When Mayor Gunther asked me 2 years ago to lead the Violent Crime Review Group, I was honored to be a part of an innovative and forward-thinking effort to reduce violent crimes in our community. Like him, I was determined to make a difference, and I'm happy to say we have. I am proud to join him today to share with you an update of some of the work of the Violent Crime Review Group. We hit the ground running in our first meeting in December of 2017, and since then, we have diligently worked to reduce homicides in 3 target neighborhoods in Columbus, that being Linden, the West Side, and the South Side. Our approach in reducing violence is twofold. Together with our partners in 9 city departments, we're providing services to residents impacted by homicides, violence, and trauma in those 3 target neighborhoods. We are also looking at crime in a new way by examining all factors that might contribute to crime, such as vacant properties, street lights, trash in alleyways, and reports of drugs. What we learn is helping us improve neighborhoods in the short term while working to develop neighborhood-specific recommendations that can have long-term impacts on reducing violence. A rapid homicide notification alert system that connects the mayor's office, Columbus Public Health, Public Safety, the CARE Coalition, Rec and Parks, police, neighborhoods, development, as well as the city attorney's office, alerts us to a homicide that occurs in these target neighborhoods. This system allows us to develop a plan of response within 48 hours of the incident to get the right people and the right resources to the individuals and to the community as quickly as possible. 2019 has been our first full year of the homicide notification system. Since the beginning of the year, I'd like to share just a few statistics with you of what we've accomplished. Some of them you can see around me today. The CARE Coalition has knocked on doors and distributed trauma care to almost 1,500 residents. CARE social workers have contacted 32 next of kin who've been affected by the violence to offer grief support and services, and held 8 community debriefs to offer support. The Department of Neighborhoods has reviewed over 16 square miles and repaired 39 streetlights and reviewed 311 complaints to immediately identify and fix problems that might be contributing to violence and crime. The Department of Development has provided more than 24,000 assessments of properties and identified 3,400 homes of interest for enforcement, repairs, and cleanup near the homicide. And Recreation and Parks has assessed 14 homicides for retaliation and determined that 12 had the potential for retaliation to help reduce further violence. In addition to all of that, to providing these immediate services to families and neighborhoods, we are also working to prevent homicides by looking at some of the root causes of violence. And we have 2 exciting new initiatives coming in 2020. Early next year, we are kicking off a new pilot program called VOICE. VOICE stands for Violence, Outreach, Intervention, Community, and Engagement. We're working in partnership with Grant Hospital Trauma System, and it's a joint partnership between the CARE Coalition and Recreation and Parks. The project will focus on enrolling victims of violent crime and providing them with supportive services and resources such as jobs, housing, food, and mental health assistance to steer them away from violence and the groups that put them in the hospital in the very first place. Enrollees will have a case manager who will help them develop a life plan, and they will be given incentives courtesy of the Ohio Health Foundation to stay the course and change the trajectory of their lives. With this new program, we are optimistic that we will be working to prevent rehospitalization and rearrest of those impacted by violence. Additionally, we are developing further insight and information on social connections to identify those at most risk for gun violence. We will look at social networks, and we're working with Dr. Papachristos, who comes from Chicago. He has done this work in Chicago as well as Oakland and looked at cities with a lot of violent crime, and has been very effective in providing them a roadmap of looking at social networks and how we can study our local data and understand individuals who are arrested or have social connections and how their peers are more likely to be involved in some of the same activities that they are, and how we can intervene to prevent that. We have made great strides since the inception of the Violent Crime Review Group, but now we have a lot more work to do, and we are in it for the long haul. Columbus Public Health is committed to working with Mayor Gunther and all of you to build families and neighborhoods that are resilient, healthy, and safe, no matter where they are in our community. And now it is truly my pleasure to introduce our next speaker and partner in all of this work, Donna Bates of the Reeb, Hosack, Stilton Village, and Parsons Avenue Merchant Association. Donna?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's actually a very good thing to be the last speaker because they've already said everything I wanted to say. So to Mayor Gunther, Lieutenant Holder, and to Dr. Roberts, my name is Donna Bates. I am a longtime resident of the south side of Columbus, so I'm either a South Ender or South Sider, whichever you prefer. I've lived on the South Side all my life. I'm a graduate of South High. I'm secretary of the Reeb Hosack Stilton Village Civic Committee. I'm a board member of the Reeb Avenue Center. I'm president of the Parsons Avenue Merchants Association, and I'm minister of music and secretary at my church. So when you ask me why I love the South Side, it's because of its strengths and its weaknesses, its diversity and its similarities, its ability to overcome adversities, adapt to change, embrace the vulnerable, and encourage one another. And while there's much to boast about within the addition of the new homes, new businesses, social service providers, there are still challenges that we know that we must address. And we have to do that collectively and as partners. And the first step for improvement is to acknowledge there is a problem and recognize those issues. And in our case specifically, it's about substance abuse associated with human trafficking, which is also associated with homelessness and is a major challenge for all of us. We applaud the efforts of the many who helped develop and implement the comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy, not only for the South Side, but for the entire city of Columbus. Over the last year, this neighborhood benefited greatly from the officers assigned to Safe Streets component of the safety strategy. Unfortunately, they only operate during warm weather. Additionally, we applaud Mark Stansberry and this recreation center for the APPS program because it brought youthful programming for youth, kept them in a safe place, and they enjoyed what they were doing. And while we have seen improvement in many areas, there's still work to be done, and it will take all of us working together to continue to make the South Side and the city of Columbus even greater. For those who are not involved in civic activities within your neighborhoods, I encourage you to do so. My father passed 2 weeks ago. He was 101. Up until the time he was 100, he went outside every day, picked up trash. If he saw a light out, he knew how to call 645-3111. So I encourage you to do that as well. For those who are not also involved, there are block watches, there are civic associations, or similar groups. Anything that you can do to improve your neighborhood, I encourage you to do so. It's important to find a way, because if you don't find a way, you'll find an excuse. So our lives are constantly under construction. there's always something to improve. So with that, have a wonderful afternoon and a very happy Thanksgiving.